It was a typical Wednesday morning when Helena woke up to the annoying sound of the alarm clock. The sun hadn't risen yet, but she was already getting up for another day at the accounting office where she had worked for 5 years. Her routine was meticulously the same: wake up, have a quick coffee, take the crowded bus, and face the endless piles of documents and numbers. Helena was 32 years old and lived alone in a small apartment in the city center. Her friends often joked about her monotonous and uneventful life, but she always responded with a resigned smile, saying that stability was more important than excitement. However, deep down, she felt a growing restlessness, a longing for something more. That particular morning, something different happened. As she got off the bus, she saw a crumpled lottery ticket on the ground. She usually didn't pay attention to such things, but for some reason, she bent down and picked it up. She looked at the numbers and, on impulse, decided to keep it in her bag. The day at the office was as tedious as always. Piles of reports, endless phone calls, and never-ending meetings. When the clock finally struck 6 in the evening, Helena breathed a sigh of relief and began to pack her things. On the way home, she remembered the lottery ticket and decided to check the numbers on her phone app. Her heart nearly stopped when she saw the numbers on the ticket exactly matched those drawn. Helena had won the lottery. She felt a whirlwind of emotions: disbelief, euphoria, fear. With an unexpected fortune in her hands, her life was about to change drastically. In the days that followed, Helena sought out a lawyer and a financial advisor to help her manage the money. She decided not to tell anyone about the prize, fearing the news might attract opportunistic people. She quit her job, citing personal reasons, and began planning her new life. Helena bought a spacious house on the outskirts of the city, took a dream trip through Europe, and dedicated herself to learning new hobbies. For the first time in years, she felt she was truly living. However, the feeling of loneliness began to intensify. Despite the freedom and new experiences, she felt the lack of something, or rather, someone. It was then, during a cooking class, that she met Eduardo. He was a chef at a renowned restaurant, and his passion for cooking was evident in every move he made. Helena and Eduardo quickly became friends and, not long after, something more. Eduardo was kind, funny, and, most importantly, seemed to like Helena for who she was, not for what she had. As their relationship deepened, Helena began to consider telling Eduardo about her fortune. She knew that for there to be complete trust between them, he needed to know this part of her life. On a winter night, while they were together at her house, Helena finally gathered the courage. "Eduardo, there's something I need to tell you," she said, holding his hands. He looked at her with curiosity but without judgment. "A few months ago, I won the lottery. That's why I quit my job and could do all these things." Eduardo was silent for a few seconds, processing the information. Then, with a soft smile, he replied, "That explains some things. But, Helena, I want you to know that I'm with you for who you are, not for what you have." Relief flooded Helena, and she hugged him, feeling she had found someone special. The following months were filled with happiness. They began planning a future together, traveling, and exploring new adventures. But life, with its unpredictability, still had a surprise in store for Helena. One day, upon returning from a business trip, she found an envelope in her mailbox. There was no sender, only her name written by hand. With a racing heart, she opened the envelope and found an anonymous letter. "Helena, I know about your lottery prize. If you don't want everyone to know, leave 100,000 reais in a black suitcase at the train station at 11 p.m. tomorrow. Don't tell anyone." Helena felt a chill down her spine. Someone knew. And now, she was being blackmailed. Desperate, she tried to call Eduardo but couldn't reach him. The anxiety consumed her all night. The next day, not knowing what to do, Helena went to the train station with the suitcase of money as instructed. She waited nervously, looking around for any sign. When the clock struck 11 p.m., a hooded man appeared and took the suitcase without a word. Before leaving, he left a small envelope in her hands. Helena opened the envelope and found a key and an address. Intrigued and fearful, she decided to follow the lead. The address led her to an old warehouse on the outskirts of the city. With trembling hands, she unlocked the door and entered. Inside, amidst dusty boxes and shelves, she found Eduardo. He was sitting on a chair, looking at her with a remorseful expression. "Helena, I need to tell you something," he said, his voice shaking. "I knew about your prize even before we met. I was hired to deceive you, to rob you. But believe me, I fell in love with you for real. This blackmail. I did it to get money and escape my criminal past. But now, I can't go through with it. I love you." Helena was stunned. Eduardo's words echoed in her mind. She didn't know whether to cry out of sadness, anger, or relief. With a deep sigh, she approached him and, with tears in her eyes, replied, "Eduardo, you broke my trust, but I appreciate your honesty now. Leave and never come back. I need time to recover from this." Eduardo left, leaving Helena alone in the warehouse. She felt a mix of pain and relief. She knew her life would never be the same, but she was also determined to move forward, stronger and wiser. In time, Helena found a new peace. She learned that true happiness didn't come from money or possessions but from genuine relationships and honesty. And as she looked to the future, she promised herself she would never let anyone break her heart that way again.